I had a client just the other day who said, Adam, I want to make a change in my life, but I feel so much guilt about it because I would have to move away from my mom who can't live without me because no one else is helping her. And I said, pause. No, wait a minute, pause. I said, you've told me about your family before. I said, first, let's talk about the other people, okay? No one else can help her. Well, is there literally nobody else that can help? Or is there just other people that aren't helping? He said, no, actually, there are other people. She just won't call them. She won't call them. So it's not that she can't call them. She chooses to have you do it instead. You do everything for her instead. Okay, so let's put that aside. What would she do if you said, no, you can't help? Well, she would get really mad at me, and she has in the past. Okay. So wait a minute. Now let's come back to this idea that you said at the beginning, guilt. Okay, we've now established there are plenty of other people that can help. We've established that she's choosing to make you do it. Okay, now we've established as well that when you've tried not to, she has inflicted hurt on you. Let's go back to guilt. Why did you use the word guilt when it sounds like you're actually afraid? And he said, and he just like, his brain just like cooked at that moment. And I said, it actually sounds like you don't feel guilty at all. You're afraid of the pain she's going to try to inflict on you. You don't feel bad. You're afraid of her. And he said, I didn't think of it that way. And I said, yeah, so this word guilt means I did something wrong. She programmed that into you so that you would never stray from what she wants you to do. She programmed that word guilt in, but you're feeling afraid. Let's conquer that fear. What's going to bring down that level of fear? What do you want to do with these other things? How can you manage these variables differently? And is it even your job to do that? It sounds like it's not. By the end of that took 20 minutes. We transformed him from overwhelmed by guilt, couldn't live his life, couldn't make his choices, to absolutely I can make my choices and live my life, and she can too. It's just that she won't. So I'm choosing to do this. It was 20 minutes. But that word guilt, transitioning that into fear, that was everything for him. So just that one word changed his life.
Dude, it's like guilt is really just fear wearing a jacket.
Oftentimes.
Well,
that's really what it feels like. Guilt is almost like a passive way of not acknowledging one's own fear.
Well,
then
you ask,
or shame.
Then you ask who trained that guilt into you and why. And usually it was a mom.
And who trained it into them.
Correct. And that usually it was a mom who did it to maintain power over you in some capacity. Right? That's a lot of people walking around this world soaked through with guilt 24/7. It's because somebody trained them to be constantly adapting to that person's desires instead of their own.
Y'all share that with somebody right now. So if you've been feeling this in your life, like the guilt dragon coming up, share this podcast immediately, because what you just said is I've heard of perfectionism being fear, but I've never really explored like guilt, the deep, dark essence of guilt being connected to just fear of not having the skills or the capacity to face oneself, to see why the guilt's even there in the first place. All these emotions are trying to get us back to center. It's just, have we cultivated the courage enough to let these storms pull us back to the right path? And by the right path, I just mean the truth. The truth.
Ultimately, you're living one of two things. You're either living in fear or you're living in love, right? You are projecting in the frequency of love, and you're trying to build and develop it in the world, and you have hope and faith. Or you are terrified of something or other, right? You're terrified of losing your job, of losing your girlfriend, of losing your mom, of losing respect, of losing your health, of losing your kids. And if you live in that will project through everything you say and do. And I've caught myself doing this with my daughter, especially during the divorce, right? And then there was a lot of fear happening of like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to survive. Just for context, we actually got the divorce as I moved to the States, and I had basically had to rebuild my whole life, relaunch my business, restart everything, and then at the same time go through these complications and kind of learn how to, really parent separately and independently. And there's always a high amount of stress. I mean, when I met Adam in person, my eye was twitching. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, that's normal." And he's like, "That's not normal, bro. That's not a good sign." Yeah. And I know this. Yeah. And I learned that even if I'm saying nice words, but inside myself is that seed of fear or shame or hurt or whatever, it comes out. It projects like the Italian grandmas. The reason why they're trying to say nice words, but it comes out wrong and damages the kids, is because they are internalized and they've soaked in that fear, and they can't not imagine a world where their kid isn't going to get hurt or their grandkid is not going to get hurt.
And that right there is so transformative. That was one thing I had to God bless her heart, I had to train my wife into, right? Because that maternal role is stop kids from getting hurt, cater to their needs, and nurture them. So one of the worst things moms do when a little boy falls down is go, and then the little boy, when he falls down, he looks at mom to say, how am I supposed to react? Am I about to die? And if mom goes, oh no, then he bursts into tears because he thinks he's about to die. That's what pitying a man does, is say, you are so helpless and powerless. What you're facing is going to destroy you, and I'm sad for you, right? So when I had to, God bless her heart, I had to train her out of when our son would fall down. And I've trained her. I said, just don't do anything. Just look at him and just look at him and watch what he does. And then the first few times he'd fall down, he'd go, and he'd look at mom and she'd go, and she would just not react. And I'd go, hey buddy, did you fall down? Bonk. And he'd go, bonk. And then he'd get up and he'd be fine because mom didn't react. Mom was cool, right? Yeah. The few times he was actually hurt, he would look at us and then kind of cry. And we go, hey buddy, are you okay? Let's take care of you.
Yeah.
But our fear was gone. So his fear disappeared.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much there. Shout out to Carrie Michelle, because she is so good with my son Nova. He'll fall and I'll have that response to go get him. And she'll be like, no, don't touch him. So it's actually flipped the other way. Yeah. I'm like, wait, no, it's my boy. I got to make sure he's okay. And she'll be like, no, just let him cry. And then what we've learned to do as parents now is we say, oh, did you have a good fall?
Yeah.
Oh, did you have a good cry?
Nice.
And just make it lighthearted and then redirect the energy. That has been the most transformational thing. Because my son was born cesarean, an unplanned cesarean. My daughter was born natural birth. And through a lot of different guests we've had on the show, we just know that we're still healing his microbiome from not passing through the vaginal canal. And there's a lot of research and science on that, by the way, just from like a microbiome population standpoint. And so my son has these moments where he'll go into really severe, like his PFC has no blood. He'll just be completely reptilian. And so it's up to me to be regulated in those moments. As we end this podcast, of course, is the perfect way to end it. The way that we heal this tapestry and the way that we actually bring all the different aspects together that we've talked about, the perfect way to end it would be like, well, we actually have to parent ourselves. We have to be able to learn how to relate to ourselves and to really take ourselves back to center, to regulate ourselves, to learn like the regulation skills, not just when our sons or daughters are freaking out, but also when society, which is kind of a child at times, is sometimes affecting us to where we feel like we're freaking out. Let's end with this. How do we co-regulate and regulate ourselves in an age of dysregulation?
Curate, right? This is exactly what we started the podcast with. The point is that you're supposed to curate what is coming into you so you can always seek improving your ability to live, love, and be in good vibrations and in a good entity. And first of all, cut out all the crap you're consuming in your body, in your social media, in everything, and replace it with something that's good and positive, right? And then let yourself heal and transform and build trust, eventually to the point where you finally reach equilibrium, exist in that experience, and eventually start giving it out so you can strengthen it. You're going to have an inflection point. And most people get discouraged because they say, I want to be better tomorrow. You're not going to be better tomorrow. You are going to go through this training experience. There's going to be a journey. And eventually you're going to turn into a servant leader by saying, I will grow myself by helping others grow as well. And that is going to be your lifelong path to that form of salvation. Religious, personal, doesn't matter, right? That's my take on it. What do you think, Adam?
Well, by salvation, don't you just mean peace?
Ultimately, peace is something that is granted to you by God for being in line with his tapestry and his plan. And you can be getting peace every day. You don't have to wait till you die.
The shepherd has peace with the flock. The shepherd in Spain that you're talking about?
Yes.
He has so much peace. And it's so interesting that we are here being the servant leader, doing our best to figure out how we can have peace as we go through this whole maturation process. It's so wild, you guys. It's like a fucking roller coaster.
It's cool.
I mean, let's enjoy it to the best of our ability, right? But at times it can be incredibly severe to where we're so dysregulated. And I felt this like lack of sleep, like, weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm sure you guys have felt this as fathers. Like kids are just up and our brain is literally swimming in its own excrement. We're not cleaning our body. We're just completely underslept. So it's in those moments of high tension stress that the regulation skills and the co-regulation skills with a partner are so important. It's not when everything's hunky-dory that the regulation skills matter. It's when shit literally hits the fan. How do you see this playing out?
What you just said there is key. Co-regulation, right? That's the thing that people get wrong. And Andre, I love you, man, but your answer was an isolationist answer. Your answer was the self. Here's how I will grow. Here's how I will change, right?
Well, he's going to learn that with Annalise.
And that's great.
Yeah,
but
they're gonna co-regulate
But that's the component. No human comes into this world alone. No human grows up teaching themselves how to eat with a spoon, how to wipe their own butt. That doesn't happen, right? Even if you're raised by wolves, the wolves have raised you. So humans are meant to grow and learn in relation with other humans. We're meant to. That was one thing, Andre, you and I have done, is you and I have, in essence, you asked about parenting ourselves.
Yeah.
You and I have co-parented each other in some capacities, but we've used a different word. Right? The actual word that needs to be brought back is mentorship. You and I have mentored each other, which really is re-parenting in a different context. So you've mentored me as a creator, as a content creator, as a professional, how to get the word out, how to grow, how to build a business. You've mentored me in all those capacities that I never grew in, that I had my own fears and my own childhood, if you will, in. And I've mentored you with attachment, with relationships, with brain chemistry. We've mentored each other. And as we've done that, what we've done is give each other space to be reparented as a pseudo father figure, and then to step back and help you become the adult yourself, all in very quick succession, a year or 2 years, whatever it is. You and I have mentored each other, and that's how humans are meant to work. We're not meant to work like, I will reparent myself. That's not really how it works. You find somebody first to give you the framework, to give you the boundaries, to give you the little sandbox to play in, and then to teach you how to play in that sandbox. And then as you grow up, you become that adult that you need to be.
Listen, my shirt for y'all on Spotify and YouTube says evolve. The word love is in evolve. I haven't ever worn this shirt on a podcast. I think it's very fitting that I wore it for this conversation, because every single piece that we've touched upon, whether it's tapestry, whether it's attachment, whether it's regulation, co-regulation, it all points to evolution. And evolution doesn't just mean we came from an ape and now we hold spears and we're on computers. Evolution is spiritual. Evolution is mental, physical, emotional, financial. We are evolving. It's so beautiful. It comes with its challenges. There's a lot for people to digest here.
Hey, if you loved that clip you just saw, watch the full video. That clip was just a taste, just a piece, the tip of the freaking iceberg of what you just witnessed and what you just felt. Click the link on this screen, subscribe to the podcast, click the link on this screen if you're vibrating, if you're resonating, if you feel what I'm putting down.